Good afternoon and welcome to this episode of the Economic Times Cutting Chai Stories, an initiative by ET Edge. I'm your host Dimple Bajwa and I bring to you conversations with business leaders where we discuss their professional and personal journeys along with some really engaging topics. Cutting Chai Stories is a platform that identifies leaders and brings out their traits, routines, and thought processes that make these leaders stand out in the industry across different sectors and verticals. And today, I have been joined by a very special guest, a leader who has been with Olam International Singapore for more than 27 years and has seen the organization grow as a multinational agriculture giant. Without further ado, let me now welcome Mr. Srinivasan Venkata Padmanabhan, President and Global of Finance, Olam International Singapore. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Hi, thank you. Pleasure meeting you.
So before we start talking about anything else, I would want to start by asking you about your initial days with Olam Group. I remember reading a very interesting incident about a 26-year-old Mr. Venkat who thought he was conned when he stood in front of his new building housing his new employer with an old car parked outside. It would be very interesting if you would share that incident with us. Also, if you could, share your long association with the organization right from where it started.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a very interesting story because I hail from a place called Trivandrum in Kerala. So I did my studies and everything else is in that part of the world. Even I was working for a Thapar group, happened to be in Trivandrum. So my hobby is to be, apply for jobs and negotiate promotion. In Thapar group, in 2 years and 2 months, I got 3 promotions. I was heading the department, doing very well in the formal manner. For some reason, I thought I should be move out of the village, which is a college, Trivandrum, southernmost part of India. So I said I had to go to Mumbai and I want to be in Mumbai. And then I happened to get an interview. So I went for an interview and met Dr. K. Palia of Godrej. I got an appointment order and that time 3-4 appointment orders in my hand. I told you my hobby is to keep applying. So I've chosen to join Godrej and decided to resign from Thapar Group. When that transition, I was planning to do that. There was an advertisement in newspaper that in a multinational company coming to Trivandrum, and they're looking for somebody in the age of 35 to 40 to come and join to head their finance department. I was hardly 25 plus, not on 26. So I said, no way, no chance I will ever get it. So why should I even apply? Even with the hobby of applying, I said, no, I don't want to waste my time. After a lot of persuasion, I applied and then I got an interview. I went to the, in a 5-star hotel, the interview has happened. And free, right? Because I know that I'm not going to get the job. Then I could see a lot of old guys like me now, all the hairs are gone competing with me. As a young lad, I could speak whatever I want to speak. And I got the interview and I got the job. They said, what do you look for it? I said, this is what I'm getting in the package. They said that, okay, double that and almost very good package. And on top of it, they said that I'll give you a brand new Premium Padmini for you. Then I said, what more you want in front of your friends? Drive your car at the age of 25. Forget about Mumbai. We can go later. Let me enjoy this life. So I accepted. I said no to all the 3 appointments I had. Apologies to everybody. And on May 20th, that's when yesterday is the day when I completed 27 years in Olam and 30 years of my corporate life.
Wow.
I was looking for that office, saying that, somebody offered me a job and I don't know how to drive. But I said I'll hire a driver and learn it. So I was looking for that office. I couldn't find the place. It was a housing place. After a lot of search, somebody said that the address is right, but there is no company here. It's a house. I walked into the house. It's a big, huge hall, 40-watt bulb, that yellow color bulb. I don't know, many of the youngsters may remember. And a black phone, the golden phone, which you dial like this.
Yes.
This thing, somebody sitting there and dark. And nothing else is there. A small cabin inside, somewhere far away, and there a lot of smoke. The gentleman was smoking. And I said, and an old ambassador standing outside. I thought I really conned. I said no to everybody. Butterflies in my stomach. Thinking of all my future is in question. How do I go back and say sorry to Godrej? Everything I thought about at that moment. I was fuming with anger. I got in. That the gentleman said that the one of the interviewer is sitting inside the room. I went inside. And he showed me some brochure and everything else to say that we are part of a very big group. Mumbai Jaslo Hospital belongs to the group, Reddington, and they were very big in many countries all over the world at that time. The group is very new. You are joining as a second employee in the Indian operations. And we have to build the office. We have to even design the office and buy and recruit people, everything else. To believe or not believe, I'm not very sure. I said, fine, what to do? At least let me pretend that I believe in that. And then I came out to the promise. They took me to the side. The office was like this on the side. On the right hand side, they took me. There was the brand new Premier Padmini card. They gave me the key. Then I said, yeah, this organization, what they say, they will mean it. And from there onwards, it's a history. So I brought many people from my previous company, Topper Group. In 3 years' time, 3.5 years, I've grew into a position of director cum financial controller. I had two chartered accountants in my team, and all over India, we spread out. In Mumbai, in Bangalore, we had taken an office in Infinity Road for 3.5 crore. Was designed by the GD Chandrais personal, architect. It's all history. And then after 3.5 years in India, moved to Indonesia, Vietnam, Jakarta. It's somewhat similar, setting up the operation from scratch. Then 99, I moved to Singapore and being part of this fascinating journey with Valam all through the years. In some sense, people call Singapore as a startup. Valam also was a startup. Today we are a $33 billion company, $30+ billion company, employing 70,000 people in 65+ countries, 44 agri commodities, and we are going through our own, rejuvenation at this point of time. So fascinating journey.
It is a very fascinating and a very inspiring journey indeed. Of course, you took a big chance by saying yes to Olam at that point of time. And yes, this story might inspire a lot of people watching this interview.
Thank you. And still now, I'm not updated my resume. I don't know how to update a resume. That has become that much of excitement. Good.
Right. So, Mr. Venkat, we all, aspire to spend the money that we've earned from our first jobs in some way or the other. How did you spend the money that you received from your first job?
Very good. So I started, that's again a fascinating journey. So I had two offers. One to be in Trivandrum, joining a Varki group. It was a very well-known Dubai-based group operations, or I have to go and join a SICK company, a BA Ford company. It was a fantastic company, but the promoter died all of a sudden. Hence, the company has gone into SICK. That was in Mavelikara, and that company is everybody remember today in Kerala. The company name is called Travancore Oxygen Limited. They produce oxygen. They are doing a great job now. So I joined that company as a finance manager, reporting to, being a very small 30 lakhs company, Keshav Pillai, who was ex-Kerala State Electricity Board chairman. And my first salary was 2,000 rupees per month.
Wow.
Right. But that was the big money. So out of the 2,000 rupees, Mavelikara is 3 hours away from Trivandrum. I sent 1,000 rupees back home because Monday to Friday, I stayed there and Friday back home. And with the balance 1,000 rupees, I took a small, house, etc. The first salary, as soon as I received, I sent 1,000 rupees back home, and the balance 1,000 rupees, I got some gift for my parents, who truly believed in me, and my sister, only one sister. So that's how I spent the money.
I think
still left with a lot of money.
I think it was spent very wisely, sir. So tough times do not, tell us before they fall upon us. However, people have their ways of dealing with such times. I'm sure you must have gone through these hard times yourself as well. Can you tell us about the hard times in life, that left you a better person after the phase passed?
Yeah. So fortunately, I've been through many tough situations, but those situations happen to be the best learning in terms of life teaching us what need to be taught and learned during the period. So first and foremost thing is in my family life, my first daughter, everything was going well. We had a best of the best hospital and everything else, and something going wrong during the delivery session. She was a breech baby, but doctors mistook and then tried to pull the baby out, and she couldn't walk for a couple of years after that, and you can imagine what all we would have gone through. But that is, the baby suffered, and now she's a 22-year-old young lady. She's doing well. But that taught us in terms of, don't take things for granted in life. You cherish. After that, two of my daughters, every moment, their smile, laugh, everything we cherish, every bit, because we waited for my earlier daughter to walk and run and speak, etc. And that taught us to learn many other alternate methods and etc. Today it is helping me a lot. So that's one on relationship and people part of it. The second one quickly to touch upon is 2008 crisis, when you are after money and you created thanks to Alam, and we made really decent kind of wealth creation, and then you being a new rich, you go into investments and all kind of things you do, and I mean you take all kind of risk mitigation measures, but you all know 2008 crisis when this goes down, and I lost a sizable amount of money at that point of time. Again, that taught me that money is not everything. Life is a balance. So I learned it at a much early stage. So two important lessons: one, relationship and people not to be taken for granted, and the family values very important. Everything else will go away. Family stands for it. And then second is money is not all for you. So there are many other aspects to look at it.
Right. I think we got some really nice insights there, that each moment should be cherished. Family is, of course, everything, and money, of course, is not everything. So with that, we'll go to our next question. We're all aware of the fact that you're a leader and you've been leading teams for years now. How have you invested in yourself to equip yourself better and incrementally improve in both the personal and the professional space?
Yeah, a fantastic question, because I mean in my studies, when I was doing it as a hobby, I used to study, right? So I did my CAS, IEEE, CS intern, and then I did attended a law college all 3 years, and I did most of commerce. All that I learned from a subject knowledge point of view. Many times what happened is people learn and sit on the laurels, but that's not going to help. And especially with the digital age, things are changing. So the way in which I continue to improve upon is on personality, personal development, which I call psychology. So if I had to choose, I would say share some courses or some life-changing courses which I have to talk about. EFT, emotional freedom technique, NLP, neuro-linguistic program, which I talk about, UN method, body talk association method. So these are the methods which will fundamentally allow you to empower and activate your subconscious and unconscious mind. So whatever you visualize, whatever you dream for, you're able to do it. Because the biggest asset in this world is not the money or asset you have. Are you in control of yourself, and are you neutral, and are you able to handle the situation as it comes to you? Because many things, in the COVID is teaching us that you're not in control of your life. You can't say that I planned for your life. But that moment, what you can do, right, for that you need a neutrality, right? And that is what I've learned in terms of Toastmasters, how to communicate. Because the most important skill is how to communicate. Whether it is the dating, whether it is getting a job, whether it is selling your product, how do you communicate? How do you speak to yourself? Because many times we do a self-talk, right? So these are the few skill sets, on an ongoing basis. And the second way is my tagline in all my social media is called sharing and learning. You share first and learn. The moment you share, you may think that you're giving to somebody else. No, you're learning. The more you share, you become, it's fortifying you. You will get a new insights in the form and manner. So in terms of attending conferences, speaking to many forums, whatever little you know, and mingle and interact with youngsters, you have a lot to learn. So many things to learn, and they are the gurus. You are not the gurus, so you can learn from them. So that's how I keep myself, fresh on my knowledge and spirit.
Right. Sharing and learning, I think that is a tagline that everyone should follow. And since, you touched upon your personal development, so this question is somewhat relatable to this. Between, our personal and professional lives, we sometimes forget to maintain that work-life balance. I would want to know from a leader like you, who has decades of experience, if you are able to maintain that work-life balance, and if yes, how do you do it?
Yeah, to be very frank, there is no other thing called work-life balance. Work is life, life is work. It will be very shocking for youngsters to hear, because that is where the problem. The moment, there is a saying, again, I don't know whether I'm telling the quote right. You find a place, job, which is no more a job, I love doing it and enjoy doing it, right? It's no more a job for you, right? So it's all question of mind space, right? So you are able, whatever you do, you'll be 100% focused at that moment with them. So when I play with my 8-year-old daughter, I'm a child. I'm not a whomsoever it is. I will just do hide and seek. I do whatever, be with her in that moment, in like her, right? That is what we are able to do that. The problem is we don't compartmentalize. We carry it. It's not the physical hours which are going into the mind space. When you're in office, you think about family. When you're in family, you think about office problem which has happened. If you know that how to compartmentalize and cut it out and then move into the next situation, you will find it blends so smoothly in the common man. Second, don't do job for the sake of earning money. Because that's got no meaning. It's something because you spend more time in an office than you spend with your family. So it should be enjoyable. It should be enriching. You should create an impact on people around you, and you should create an impact on yourself so that you continue to learn and grow. If not, find something which is you're passionate about, and then you will see you will get energy, time, you will get more than enough time for doing everything and anything you want. That you can see it in my social media. You will see that I can manage many X without any problem, with none of them falling down.
Right. Those are very, I think, interesting and very inspiring points that you highlighted there, sir. Well, now let's just change some gears here. Can you share with us, 2 or 3 things, that you did during the lockdown, either at a personal level or, in a professional capacity that you had never ever done before?
Yeah. So the one very important thing which I again share extensively because it dramatically changed. See during busy time when you're traveling around all over the world, right? You don't have a time to maintain relationships and friendships, right, in the formal manner,
Right.
including your colleagues, including your what is called friends. So and the second thing is how do you keep your fitness, to the peak of your fitness. Many times you find excuses to say that I'm busy, I couldn't do exercise today, etc. It struck me during the COVID because this is a time we reflect a lot and we say that life is, dear and dear is dying and going away. So I come out with this terminology called walk with no agenda. It's called no agenda, walk and talk, right? That means I identify only one person to be with me. That could be somebody whom I met, been in touch, but not knowing deeper enough. So 6 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning, we find a new park, go for a walk without any agenda. So we are not discussing business. We are not discussing this with any specific preconceived notion. And you won't believe, over the last 1 year, I would have re-established my contact with at least 200 people. And that 2 hours or 2.5 hours of talk is the most valuable, getting to know each other, right? And very meaningful. There is a connecting dots. So you get to know whether socially what they do, what their childhood was, what are the hobbies, where the connection, which is none of that we would have talked in a business city. In a coffee, and the phone is ringing, you have an half an hour meeting, you go, it's a coffee meeting. So of course you are having a chai with you, but that meeting is much more valuable. So, and that way I'm also committed to somebody. So I get up in the morning, even if there is a late night, watching TV or whatever it is, I get up in the morning and go because I'm committed. I do religiously 8-10 kilometers of exercise. I lost my 5-7 kgs of weight.
Oh, wow.
What more you want? Enjoyable vitamin D, which is good for COVID, to prevent COVID. And you re-establish contact and your network is solid. You learned, you're updated. And that's young and old, everybody. So I have an entrepreneurs club, startup club, people like you. I just go with students to walk. That's it. Enjoy that moment. That's it.
Oh, that's
So that's one thing which I started doing it. And second thing is, of course, in terms of little bit of, no, I won't call it as religious, but spirituality, in the sense connecting yourself deeply inside, because again, like money, this COVID is teaching that you're not in control of everything else. We thought we are in control of everything in the world.
right.
There is something beyond that. So trying to seek, get some answers, which is called, silence gives an answers. So take some time to remain silent and reflect.
Right. So I think listening to your fitness regime and what you do during that 1 hour of your daily walk, I think this is going to inspire a lot of people and they might want to reconsider their fitness regimes. So, they say age is just a number and, you should always stay young at heart. What do you think is the best way to stay young?
Be with the youngsters. Be content. First of all, don't even, age is a number. Recently I was looking at one of the article where, age is a number. You mature. The word they say that, how the wine is maturing, and you will have maturity, you will have a lot more knowledge and experience and wisdom, but you don't. I mean, I tell my youngsters, I always hang around with youngsters. I have a lot of young friends. I said, I can dance with you as, maybe you may get tired, I may not get tired, right? So that is what I call it as child in you, because in many times in our world, we just try to be a leader. I mean, sorry for the strong word which I'm using, but I want to create an impact. Hypocritic life. We show something to the world that I'm so and so. But in true of the child in you, when you're 7 years, 6 years, 5 years, you didn't worry about anything else. You just feel like crying, you cry, you shout. We don't need to pretend. You don't need to live for others. You live for yourself. I do. Many times, people see that authenticity in me. I just in that moment, I'm a child, and I can be a child many times. And I want my child to come out as many times possible. And that very much possible when I hang around with youngsters like you people, because so much to learn, so much energy, and especially young entrepreneurs not going into corporate world with a passion to solve the organizational problems. That's why I run my startup club in entrepreneurship club. It's a fascinating experience. Every time I walk with them, hey, I should have done this. I learn something and I get re-energized.
Wow, that's great. That's really nice to hear. Okay, so our last question, but definitely the most important one, as we see the cases, since we are talking about the young people, as we see the cases of depression and anxiety rising among the millennials, what would your message be for them who are prone to stress, anxiety, and depression?
Yeah. No, I would blame them. I mean, any one of you going around today, out of college, the job is not there, and they're seeing only the crisis of different nature, because we can talk about 1930 and other crises and all. They've not seen it. That's nothing wrong in that. But only one thing I can tell you, youngsters who are listening here, just go with the flow, enjoy. You don't feel like studying, don't study. You don't feel like doing that, don't do that. Because even if you study the best of the best, which you should do. But I'm saying that the technology and the world is changing in such a form and manner. Like IBM Watson can replace so many lawyers and so many hours of work in a day. So technology is going to overtake. What matters for you is, are you in control of your emotions? Are you in a good company? You being alone, you feel enjoyable, joyful. Are you learning something better today? You're not competing with anybody. Are you better than yesterday by a millimeter? Fantastic. Give a pat for yourself. You love yourself. Look at it in front of the mirror every day and say, the most valuable and handsome man or woman is here. And that's you. And that's the biggest asset. That's the greatest asset. How do you nurture emotionally, mentally, physically is what matters. Absorb. It is not only the academic matters. Expose yourself, volunteer, professional organization, take leadership role, do mistakes, fall, get up, fall, take risk. And this is the time to do that. And I won't regret. The flow will take you to a different heights. And that's what has happened to many of us, including myself. So just believe in that yourself and that moment, that day. Don't think about the past. Don't think about future. That happened. That moment should be the most productive for that day. That's it.
Right. So go with the flow and believe in yourself is the mantra you just shared. And I think everybody should follow this mantra. So all good things must come to an end. Similarly, this conversation too, which has helped us get fascinating insights into the personal and professional life of Mr. Venkat, has to come to an end. This was a very interesting conversation with you, Mr. Venkat. I loved your enthusiasm and your promptness when it came to answering the questions. And with that, we come to the end of this Cutting Dry Stories interview.